with MDMA, there's a natural way that parts work happens, like people describe parts of themselves, and sometimes even in a language that they've never used before, where they really address, there is a part of me that feels this, and there is a part of me that feels this. And so it creates enough space so there's a sense of objectivity, a sense of watching different parts come in and say, oh, there is this part of me that was this little girl that was really suffering, that was there and is here now. And then we can work with that part, but never kind of forgetting the witness or the part of the self that we call the inner healer. So in the modality that we use, we have a strong belief in the inner healing intelligence of every human being, that part shows up in MDMA and really guides the participant, that's the guide. It's not the therapist, the guide. It's the inner healer who is the guide and who says, I know what I need and I can address and I can be present here, even when there's these really scary parts.
Right. And is that grounded in internal family systems as a kind of branch of psychology? It very much explores this idea of parts.
Well, I think internal family systems is a great tool to have because parts comes up. And I don't think it's absolutely necessary to be an internal family systems therapist in order to do this work. I think what it takes is the awareness of parts of the self, the awareness and the respect that if there's a little girl in front of me, if I'm talking to a little part of you, then I want to address it as a little part of you, and I want to understand and make it safe and hold the boundaries that part in the participant needs. So there is an awareness that needs to happen about parts, but you don't have to be an internal family systems therapist in order to do this work. As a matter of fact, we encourage that therapists don't use language of any modality that they normally use, that they can use the resources and the skills that they come from it, but not necessarily the language, because we're not doing that work, right? We're not doing internal family systems work. We're not doing somatic experiencing, so even though they're both really important.
Yeah, I think so in my experience, it was very, as you said, it was very much the kind of natural homeostatic healing intelligence of the body that seemed to be playing out. And it was only after the fact that I came across internal family systems, somatic experiencing, and realized those point to truths that anyone can discover inside themselves, inside their own body and their own mind. And so, yeah, I completely agree. You don't need to get hung up on the jargon of one particular system, but if people, I guess, want to follow up on, if they're like, oh, what does it mean to experience trauma release in the body? These are, somatic experiencing is perhaps one place they could look, and same for parts of internal family systems.
So for you, was it that after the experience, then internal family systems then create a more of a context for what you had felt? Was it helpful in that way?
So I've actually not explored it very much. I mainly point to it just for people who are listening who feel that resonates. They might want to, my understanding is that's kind of explores this understanding of parts. But no, for me, I think I've had this ever since I've had an intuitive sense of these different parts of myself, and I've kind of followed my own kind of, I guess, my own kind of self-directed healing in that way. But so I don't, I'm not someone who's read books on IFS or anything like that, but I'm pointing out more for someone who has no idea, if you're living in a way where you haven't identified any of these parts within yourself, I guess that's just a body of literature that my understanding explores it.
Yes. And I think it would be really helpful. There's many ways there's different modalities for working with parts, and internal family system is one of them, and one of the ones that is very successful and works really well. So I think it's very helpful, and to have that understanding. And I do tell people, just explore it, read some about it, but also normalize it. That we all have the sense. I think every person that I know has said things to me like, well, there's a part of me that really wants to go to this party, but a part of me that doesn't want to go. I mean, we use it automatically, right? Like we've had it our whole lives. There is a part of me that enjoys company. There's a part of me that prefers solitude, and these parts kind of come out at different times, right? The parts of ourselves that show up, and then maybe we haven't quite thought about it in that language, but then it comes up. And we've had several participants who will say, I don't know why I'm talking like this. I never said this. Like a part of myself, I'm not like, like, am I crazy? Or like they become a little bit like, oh, this is kind of strange. Like I've never thought about it this way. So it's actually a way of normalizing that it is the way we work internally, that if you really think about it, oh, there is a part of me, there is a part of me that does this and does that. And so that normalizing gives room for more exploration and more invitation about parts that maybe are unwelcomed too. It's pretty challenging to invite a part that is unwelcomed, but in our modality, we always say every single part is welcomed, no matter if you like them or not, if it's challenging or not. They're welcomed here. And how do we make it safe for them
And
to
you
come
mentioned,
forward and say what they need to say?
yeah, you mentioned that there's this part of, I can't remember the term you used, something like true self or higher self, from which you see the parts.
Yeah, like the witness, or
Okay,
the inner healing intelligence.
right.
That
Yeah.
part that shows up, I think, very early on in the experience of MDMA, because we get out of our way, because our critic and our judge sort of take a step back, and the ones that have been guarding the door, the gate, right, they take a step back, and then the inner healer is able to come in and go like, wow, like I am a wise person that knows what I need.